The Deception. Admiral Helena Reyes stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching the hegemony delegation's shuttle approach. The massive alien vessel that had brought them hung in orbit like a gleaming sword, a not-so-subtle reminder of the power imbalance between humanity and the galactic superpower. "They're right on schedule," Lieutenant Commander Jackson noted beside her. "They always are." Helena's expression revealed nothing of the calculations running through her mind. The hegemony had discovered Earth 50 years ago, finding what appeared to be a fledgling spacefaring species barely capable of reaching their own moon. Humanity had presented themselves as technologically primitive but eager to learn, and the hegemony, a coalition of 17 advanced species, had been all too happy to take Earth under their protective wing. The observation deck's doors slid open, and Ambassador Chen entered. Like Helena, he wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's Space Administration, deliberately designed to look utilitarian and slightly outdated compared to the hegemony's sleek attire. "Admiral, our guests will dock in 5 minutes. Is everything prepared?" Chen asked. Helena nodded. "Our demonstration ships are ready. The HSS Endeavour will showcase our latest advancements in propulsion technology." What she didn't say, what was never said aloud, was that the Endeavour was a carefully crafted prop. Its hull was deliberately designed with visible welding seams and makeshift repairs. Its engines were noisy and inefficient by hegemony standards. Every aspect of the vessel screamed struggling species trying their best with limited resources. Meanwhile, deep within the asteroid belt and hidden bases on Mars, Jupiter's moons, and dimensional pockets throughout the solar system, humanity's true fleet waited. Ships with technology that would make the hegemony's eyes widen in shock if they ever saw them. Which they wouldn't. Not yet. "Remember," Chen said quietly, "High Commissioner Voxthalem has requested a complete assessment of our defensive capabilities. We need to show progress, but not too much." Helena finished for him. "Don't worry, Ambassador. I've been playing this game since before you joined the diplomatic corps." The shuttle docked, and the hegemony delegation emerged, a mixture of species, all wearing the distinctive silver and blue of the galactic government. At their head walked High Commissioner Voxthalem, a tall, six-limbed being with iridescent scales and eyes that reflected light like prisms. Ambassador Chen, the alien greeted, extending his primary arms in the formal hegemony greeting. "Admiral Reyes, it pleases me to see your orbital facility operational. The last time I visited, this section was still under construction. We've made significant progress with your guidance, High Commissioner," Chen replied with a carefully measured bow, respectful but not subservient. "Though we still have much to learn." Voxthalem's mouthparts clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. "That is why the hegemony exists, to guide developing worlds like yours toward their potential." The delegation toured the station, inspecting what appeared to be humanity's best technology. Helena watched as the aliens made notes, occasionally exchanging glances that ranged from amusement to pity. To them, Earth's advancements were quaint, like watching a child proudly show off a crude drawing. "And this is our primary defense system," Helena explained as they reached the command center. Screens displayed a network of satellites with basic kinetic weapons and rudimentary energy shields. "Your engineers were most helpful in helping us understand the principles of particle shielding." What she didn't mention was that 2 kilometers beneath the lunar surface, in a facility that didn't officially exist, humans had developed shielding technology that could withstand impacts that would shatter hegemony defenses, or that the satellites they were observing were decoys, while the real defense grid remained invisible to even the most advanced hegemony scanners. "Impressive progress for your species," noted Krelnar, the hegemony's military attaché, though his tone suggested the opposite. "Though I notice you've yet to implement quantum cascade generators in your shield matrix." "We're still studying the theoretical principles," Helena replied, injecting a note of eager humility into her voice. "Our scientists have difficulty understanding some of the mathematical concepts." In truth, humanity had moved beyond quantum cascade technology years ago, finding it inefficient compared to the dimensional folding techniques they'd developed in secret. The tour continued to the shipyard, where the Endeavour waited. As planned, one of its engine nacelles sputtered and shut down during the demonstration, requiring an emergency repair that let the hegemony observers witness human engineers scrambling to fix what they saw as primitive technology. "Your persistence is admirable," Voxthelum said as they returned to the shuttle bay. "The Hegemony Council will be pleased with my report. Your species continues to make appropriate progress for your development stage." "We are grateful for your guidance," Chen replied. As the Hegemony shuttle departed, Helena watched it through the observation window, her face now allowing a small, tight smile to form. "They'd bought it completely," Jackson said quietly beside her. "They always do," Helena replied. "They can't imagine the species would deliberately appear weaker than they are. Their entire social structure is built on displays of power and technological superiority." "The latest intelligence reports are concerning," Jackson noted, changing the subject. "The anomalies at the edge of hegemony space." "I know." Helena's expression darkened. "Something's coming. Something the hegemony isn't prepared for." She activated her neural implant. Technology the hegemony believed humans were at least a century from developing, and connected to the secure network that linked humanity's hidden military infrastructure. "Status report on Project Eclipse," she subvocalized, the command traveling through quantum channels undetectable to hegemony sensors. Data flowed directly into her mind. Deep within the solar system, humanity's true fleet continued to grow. Ships with technology developed along paths the hegemony had never explored. Weapons designed based on principles the aliens had dismissed as theoretical impossibilities. Defensive systems that made the proudest hegemony vessels look like they were protected by tissue paper. "How long?" Jackson asked. Helena's eyes remained fixed on the departing hegemony ship, now a distant speck against the stars. "Not long," she replied. "The hegemony is about to face a threat they can't handle. And when that happens," she left the thought unfinished. Because sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that pretended to be prey, and humanity had been pretending for a very long time. Deep beneath the surface of Europa, in a facility carved into the ice moon's core, General Maya Rodriguez stood in the command center of humanity's true military headquarters. Holographic displays showed the position of every hegemony vessel in the sector, the movement of their patrols, and most importantly, the growing disturbance at the edge of known space. "They still don't see it," her intelligence officer noted, highlighting the anomaly that human sensors had been tracking for months. "They won't," Maya replied. "Not until it's too late." Because that was the plan. Let the hegemony discover the threat. Let them struggle against it. And then, when the moment was right, humanity would finally reveal what they had been building in secret all these years. The true fleet, the real power of Earth. And the galaxy would never be the same. The threat emerges. The emergency alert came during a routine status meeting at Europa Command. General Maya Rodriguez was reviewing deployment patterns when every screen in the command center suddenly flashed red. "Contact at the edge of hegemony space," her tactical officer announced. "Massive energy signature, unlike anything in our database." The holographic display shifted, showing a tear in space itself, a wound in reality through which something was emerging. It wasn't a ship in any conventional sense. It was more like a living shadow, a three-dimensional hole that consumed light and matter alike. "The hegemony's response?" Maya asked, maintaining her composure despite the alarming sight. "They've dispatched a defense fleet from Outpost Zeta 9, the communications officer reported. Standard protocol formation. They appear to be treating it as a Level 2 threat." Maya's expression tightened. The hegemony's arrogance would be their undoing. This was clearly no ordinary threat. "Alert Admiral Reyes," she ordered, "and bring all hidden assets to standby status." Within hours, reports began flooding in. The Hegemony Defense Fleet had engaged the shadow entity and been annihilated. Their weapons, considered the pinnacle of galactic military technology, had passed harmlessly through the enemy. Their shields, capable of withstanding asteroid impacts, had offered no resistance. 3 more entities emerged from the spatial tear. Then 10, then dozens. They're moving directly toward the Hegemony core worlds, Maya's strategic analyst reported. At current speed, they'll reach the first major population center in 72 hours. And Earth? Maya asked. Their trajectory will bring them here in approximately 2 weeks if they maintain course after engaging the Hegemony. Maya nodded, considering the implications. This is proceeding faster than our projections. 3 days later, the first Hegemony colony world fell. Its orbital defenses were overwhelmed in minutes. The shadow entities descended to the planet's surface, consuming everything in their path. Billions of lives extinguished in hours. The Hegemony Council, in an unprecedented move, declared a galaxy-wide emergency. All member species were instructed to contribute ships and resources to a unified defense force. Ambassador Chen was summoned to Hegemony Central Command, a massive space station that served as the Galactic government's military headquarters. Admiral Rise accompanied him, maintaining her carefully crafted persona of a capable but technologically limited human officer. The situation is grave, High Commissioner Vox Thelem admitted, his usual condescending tone replaced by genuine concern. We face an enemy unlike any the Hegemony has encountered in its 10,000-year history. Holographic displays showed the shadow entities, now designated Void Eaters by Hegemony scientists, consuming planet after planet. Their numbers had grown to hundreds, possibly thousands. We request Earth's assistance, Vox Thelem continued. While your technology is limited, your ships could aid in evacuation efforts. Chen and Rise exchanged a carefully measured glance. Of course, Chen replied. Humanity stands with the Hegemony in this crisis. We will commit our full defensive fleet to assist in any way possible. What the Hegemony didn't know was that full defensive fleet had 2 very different meanings. There was the fleet they knew about, a few dozen ships with outdated weapons and limited range. And then there was humanity's true armada, hidden throughout the solar system, armed with technology that had been developed in secret for decades. For now, only a small portion of that hidden power would be revealed, just enough to help without raising too many questions. Within hours, Earth's defensive fleet was deployed to assist with evacuations from threatened Hegemony worlds. The ships performed admirably, somehow managing to evade the Void Eaters when more advanced Hegemony vessels were targeted and destroyed. How are your ships surviving? Krelinar, the Hegemony military attaché, demanded during an emergency briefing. We've lost 60% of our fleet, yet your primitive vessels remain unscathed. Admiral Rise maintained her calm demeanor. We've noticed the entities seem to prioritize energy signatures. Our ships produce significantly less energy than yours, making us less appetizing targets. It was a plausible explanation. The truth, that human ships were equipped with dimensional shifting technology that allowed them to briefly phase out of normal space when attacked, would have raised far too many questions. The crisis escalated. The Void Eaters continued their advance, consuming system after system. The Hegemony's proud military, which had kept the peace for millennia, was being systematically dismantled. Their weapons were useless, their defenses meaningless, their strategies ineffective. And all the while, humanity watched, gathered intelligence, and prepared. In the hidden command center beneath Europa, General Maya Rodriguez monitored the conflict through thousands of cloaked probes scattered throughout Hegemony space. Each Void Eater was analyzed, its patterns studied, its weaknesses cataloged. They're not invincible, she noted, reviewing the latest data. They operate on principles similar to our dimensional folding technology, existing partially outside normal spacetime. Which means they might be vulnerable to our phase-lock weapons, her science officer suggested. Maya nodded. Weapons the Hegemony doesn't even know exist. The decision came 3 days later, when a massive void eater, larger than any previously encountered, emerged from the spatial tear. This one was different, its form more defined, its movements more purposeful. Intelligence designated it the command entity. It's coordinating their attacks, Maya reported to Admiral Reyes via secure quantum link, and it's heading directly for the Hegemony homeworld. Reyes, currently aboard the Hegemony flagship as an observer, understood the implications. If the Hegemony fell completely, humanity would stand alone against the Void Eaters. Time estimate? She asked. 36 hours to Hegemony Prime. Perhaps a week to Earth after that. Reyes made her decision. Implement Protocol Twilight. Limited reveal only. Throughout human space, carefully selected ships began activating systems that had previously remained dormant. Weapons that shouldn't have existed emerged from hidden compartments. Shields that should have been impossible for primitive humans to develop hummed to life. When the human fleet rejoined the Hegemony Defense Force, the aliens immediately noticed the change. "Your ships," Voxthalem said, his compound eyes fixed on Admiral Reyes. "They're different." "We had to make some modifications," Reyes replied, dropping the pretense of technological inferiority. "But only partially. We've been developing alternative defense systems in secret for our protection." The human vessels now openly demonstrated capabilities that shocked the Hegemony, but these were still only a fraction of humanity's true technological achievements. Just enough to help turn the tide, to give the Hegemony hope, but not enough to reveal humanity's full arsenal. Using their newly revealed weapons, the human ships successfully destroyed several smaller Void Eaters, something the Hegemony had failed to accomplish. The aliens watched in stunned disbelief as vessels they had dismissed as primitive executed maneuvers that should have been impossible fired weapons that somehow affected the seemingly invulnerable enemy. "How?" Krelnar demanded. "How is this possible?" "We took a different approach to physics," Reyes explained, offering a partial truth. "Your civilization focused on quantum manipulation. We explored dimensional folding." It was enough of an explanation to satisfy immediate questions, though Reyes could see the suspicion growing in the aliens' eyes. The Hegemony was beginning to realize just how much humanity had concealed, but they had no time to dwell on it. The command entity was approaching Hegemony Prime, leading an armada of Void Eaters that would overwhelm even the combined human Hegemony fleet. "Your improved technology is impressive, Admiral," Voxthalem acknowledged, the condescension gone from his voice. "But it won't be enough. Our scientists project total defeat within 24 hours. Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps it's time we show you what humanity is truly capable of." She activated her neural implant and sent a single command through the quantum network. "Execute Protocol Midnight. Full reveal authorized." Throughout the solar system, space itself began to change. Unveiling the arsenal, throughout human-controlled space, the fabric of reality rippled and tore. What had appeared to be empty void shimmered as hidden dimensional pockets opened, revealing what humanity had been concealing for decades. Ships emerged, not dozens, but thousands. Vessels unlike anything the Hegemony had ever seen, with hulls of midnight black that absorbed light rather than reflected it. They moved with impossible grace, their engines leaving trails of blue fire that seemed to bend the space around them. On the Hegemony flagship's bridge, the alien leaders watched in stunned silence as humanity's true fleet took formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering, making even the proudest Hegemony ships look primitive by comparison. What are we seeing?" Voxthalem finally managed, his usual composure shattered. Admiral Helena Reyes stood tall, no longer playing the role of a technologically inferior officer. "You're seeing why humanity chose to appear weak. You're seeing what we built while you thought we were struggling with basic physics." A holographic displays showed human vessels emerging throughout the galaxy, deployed from hidden bases that had existed undetected for years. Ships appeared near threatened hegemony worlds, alongside evacuation routes, and most importantly, in the path of the advancing Void Eaters. "You've had this capability all along," Krelnar asked, mandibles clicking in agitation. "You deliberately deceived the hegemony." "We did," Rise acknowledged without apology. "From our first contact with your civilization, we recognized a simple truth. The hegemony respects only strength. Any species appearing weak would eventually be controlled or exploited, regardless of your diplomatic language about guidance and protection." She gestured to the displays showing the Void Eaters approaching Hegemony Prime. "But now is not the time for recriminations. That enemy won't discriminate between our civilizations." The first wave of humanity's true fleet engaged the Void Eaters. Their weapons were beyond anything the hegemony had imagined possible. Beams of concentrated reality-warping energy that cut through the shadow entities' supposedly impenetrable forms. Dimensional anchors that forced the creatures fully into normal space, making them vulnerable to conventional attacks. The command entity, sensing the new threat, altered course to confront the human armée. It expanded, becoming a tear in space large enough to swallow worlds. Aboard the HS Nemesis, humanity's true flagship hidden until now in a dimensional pocket near Neptune, General Maya Rodriguez directed the battle. The vessel was the pinnacle of human military technology, a ship designed not just to fight in space, but to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. "All Eclipse Fleet units," she broadcast, "execute Convergence Pattern Alpha. Target the command entity with phase-lock weapons." Hundreds of specialized warships moved into precisely calculated positions, creating a three-dimensional pattern around the massive Void Eater. Each vessel activated its reality anchors, creating a web of dimensional stability that trapped the entity in normal space. "Phase lock established," her weapons officer reported. "Entity is contained." Maya nodded. "Deploy the Singularity Lance." At the center of the human formation, the HS Nemesis' primary weapon activated, a beam of concentrated energy, not heat or light, but pure dimensional distortion, lanced out, striking the command entity at its core. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The entity's form collapsed in on itself, unable to maintain its partial existence outside normal spacetime. The void that had seemed to consume everything was itself consumed, imploding into a momentary singularity before dissipating completely. With the command entity destroyed, the remaining Void Eaters lost cohesion. Some fled back toward the spatial tier they had emerged from. Others were easily destroyed by the combined human hegemony fleet. Within hours, the threat that had nearly annihilated galactic civilization was neutralized. On the hegemony flagship, silence reigned as the alien leaders processed what they had witnessed. Humanity, a species they had patronized and underestimated, had saved not just themselves but the entire hegemony. "Why?" Voxthalum finally asked, turning to Admiral Reyes. "Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden, allowed the hegemony to fall, and emerged as the dominant power in the galaxy." Reyes's expression was solemn. "Because that's not who we are. Humanity has a long, bloody history of conflict. We've learned the hard way that power without compassion leads only to destruction." She gestured to the stars visible through the viewport. "We hid our true capabilities because we needed to understand the galaxy before revealing ourselves. We needed to know if the hegemony would be a partner or a threat. But when faced with extinction, the choice was clear. We stand together or we fall alone." In the days that followed, delegations from across the galaxy arrived at Earth, not to patronize or guide, but to negotiate as equals. The revelation of humanity's true technological capabilities had fundamentally altered the balance of power, forcing a reconsideration of humanity's role in galactic affairs. The Hegemony Council, humbled by both their near defeat and humanity's decision to save them despite years of condescension, proposed a new galactic compact, one based on genuine cooperation rather than thinly veiled domination. Admiral Helena Reyes stood in the Great Hall of the newly established Galactic Concordat, representing Earth in the signing ceremony. Beside her, General Maya Rodriguez watched as representatives from hundreds of worlds affixed their signatures or equivalent markers to the historic document. They still don't fully understand, Maya noted quietly. They think our fleet represents the extent of our capabilities. Helena allowed herself a small smile. Let them think that. Some secrets are best kept hidden until needed. Because deep beneath Europa's ice, in laboratories hidden from even the most advanced alien sensors, humanity continued to innovate, to push the boundaries of what was possible. The dimensional technology that had defeated the Void Eaters was already being refined, improved upon, developed into applications beyond weapons and ships. Do you think they'll ever invade again? Maya asked, watching as Vox the Limb approached with a delegation of hegemony officials. No, Helena replied confidently. But if they do, they'll find that what we revealed was just the beginning. Because that was humanity's true strength, not the ships or the weapons or the technology, impressive as they were, but the relentless drive to improve, to adapt, to overcome any challenge. The galaxy had underestimated them once. It would not make that mistake again. As the Void Eaters had learned, as the hegemony now understood, and as any future threat would discover, sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy is the one that no one sees coming until it's too late. And humanity would always be watching, waiting, ready.